Welcome to this week's another episode of Work the Left Side this week. We're spoiling you over these last few weeks. It's just an episode every other day. So we are back to the 97 wrestling though with myself and James. We're talking the God level wrestling. How you doing, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, man, I'm all good. I'm looking forward
You've been doing loads of podcasts recently. Every day I'm seeing you doing new podcasts.
It's mental at the minute. I've literally been inundated with like guests and stuff, and it's just a case of when are you free? And they're like, "We'll do it tonight if you want." I'm like, I don't want to be rude and say, "Oh no, we'll do it later on." So yeah, I've just literally been inundated with.
How was the one with Kid Cash? I know you're looking forward to that.
That was awesome. Yeah, I popped huge for that. It's luckily, well, one of my mates is actually his agent. And lives in Leeds. So anytime he does a UK booking, it's through my mate. So it kind of puts in contact.
I've got a very distant link to Kid Cash. It was before my involvement, but he was like going to help out at Grapple in Leeds, the wrestling school. He did a training seminar there. And he was talking to Paul, who was the sole owner at the time, of getting involved, but yeah, never took off. I don't know what happened, but yeah. So a lot of the students from Grapple, like, always used to tell me about their intense training session they had with Kid Cash.
Yeah, well, I was talking to him. The guy's very old school. He's trained by Ricky Morton and stuff, and I can imagine him as a teacher, as a coach, just making you do like 100 Hindu or 1,000 Hindu squats or something.
About that, yeah.
But yeah, the guy's really nice. I must admit, I was a bit worried before talking to him because of the reputation. But it was amazing. It was legitimately just a really nice guy to talk to. I literally talked about an hour and a half, and even then, I had to kind of like, right, I need to stop, kind of thing. So, but yeah,
as well, which is another name from the past, Greg Burridge.
Yes. Again, just I'm obviously a massive fan of British wrestling. I like to shine lights all over the place. So not just the up and coming talent, the current talent. It's the guys that have been there and set the way kind of thing as well. And Greg's huge at the minute in 1PW, based on the last show he turned on.
Yeah, he always was back in the day. I know him sort of from back in the day. We did a tour together in Italy, so that's sort of became like. Yeah, we did that tour and we got on great. So yeah, he's a good guy. I think you'll enjoy speaking to him as well. And he's obviously very involved with the training side of things now. Will Ospreay, Cara as well. He's got some big names.
Well, he's got the London School of Lucha Libre down south. So it's not just that though. It's like it's the whole movie side and stuff, and doing stunts. He's involved in like Harry Potter and all that kind of sort of stuff.
Yeah, I saw every now and then I see him do a Facebook update, but I haven't spoken to him in years. But I know he's been involved with some like pretty cool stuff just from stuff he's shared.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just literally messaged. I've been thinking about it, and my confidence is going up a little bit now. So I'm like, actually, you know what? I'd like to talk to that person. I'll see if they fancy it. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, cool. I'm like, oh, all right, cool, awesome. You want to talk to me? No.
There we go. But today, you get to talk to me about 1997 WCW.
In all honesty, dude, there's not many things make me happier than talking about talking 97 wrestling with yourself. So it's WCW.
97 wrestling really is my happy place. I loved watching this pay-per-view. It's so good. The WCW ones are completely new to me as well, so it's really interesting to watch.
I've seen them, but I saw them like 5 years ago. I smashed through all of WCW like 5 years ago, so I really don't remember them that well. So yeah, it's more fresh.
Yeah, like I know like what's going to happen because I sort of know wrestling history, but I find it interesting to know like how they're going to get there. Like I knew Macho Man was going to be involved in this one and the direction it was going, and I was interested to see how they did it.
But no, that's it. It's like it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah,
like you know how it all turns out. But I'll ask you: did you watch the Nitro before the pay-per-view? I know sometimes you do with the Raws.
Yeah, no, I have been keeping up to. I've been keeping up to date with them as well. So they were the Nitros before were very focused on Roddy Piper and like him going from being like a family man and they did a segment where he's like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm going home to spend time with my family. And then Hogan, like, provokes him into, like, retaliating and, like, basically just, calling him a bit of a pussy, not so many words, in front of his son. And so he, like,
Well, he ends up in Alcatraz.
And then, so the reason he ends up in Alcatraz, which is a bit weird, but it's Roddy Piper, and like he basically wants to take himself back to like how he was, and because he's a family man now, and the only way he can do that apparently is to lock himself in Alcatraz for 7 days, which I find hilarious for a few reasons. Firstly, like, Alcatraz isn't an operating prison, is it? Like that was like the 80s, 70s, 80s it stopped running. I don't know. So he's in there on his own, but there's so many prison guards. Like, why do they need that many prison guards? Firstly, he's there. He's one person, and like he's Roddy Piper, I know, but he's one person. You don't need that many prison guards. Secondly, he's there voluntarily, so he could leave if he wanted to. So I just love like wrestling logic sometimes.
The whole intro to Superbrawl, like when it starts off, before you just got him coming out of his cell, like really cinematic. It was like cinematic before cinematic was a thing in wrestling, kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's walking through Alcatraz and he's getting in the guards' faces and stuff. And then he's on the boat, coming back to San Francisco, and he's just shouting at the top of his voice, kind of things. I'm coming for you, Hogan. It's like, this is so. I don't know if it was so bad or it was so good, but it was just so enjoyable. It was just like, Piper must have been loving this.
It is enjoyable. Like, I sort of watch it and I'm a bit like rolling my eyes, like, oh God, this is kind of cheesy. But then at the same time, I love it. Like you, I'm like, this is funny. And the other thing I find hilarious was they keep on going about how he's been awake for 7 days, like, and he's going crazy. And I'm like, and he hasn't been eating. And I'm like, that's terrible preparation for a fight. Like, he's not eating, not drinking, not sleeping for a week. Like, he would have been blown up in like 30 seconds. And like, well, he probably was. They're getting on a bit, aren't they?
And he smells bad, apparently, as well.
Yeah, he hasn't showered either. They could smell him. Where are the commentators sat? They're not by the ring in this one, are they? They could still smell him. Because in the early the 95 WCW ones, they're actually by the ring. So they obviously moved that at some point. I think it was the early 96 they changed that.
Because on Nitro, the commentators are way back, aren't they? That's why WWE, that kind of thing. But yeah, the pay-per-views, they're normally very close to the ring. But yeah, I just thought the intro. I will probably talk a little bit because I had to keep watching. I've watched the 2 Nitros after the pay-per-view kind of thing. So I won't spoil too much for you, but there's a couple of little bits on there that I'm just like, what? So but the pay-per-view itself, Superbrawl 7, obviously the main event, Hogan versus Roddy Piper for the title. I will let you take charge of introducing the matches though, because I know you're a man more prepared than myself.
I do. Yeah, I've got my notes here. Oh, before we start, we were talking before we turn the cameras on. You've done very well with your WCW hat. I tried and failed to put my wrestling poster I got for my birthday. Can you see that? It's not upside down, is it?
That is, that's quality. I can see a 316 at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. There's loads of random wrestlers on there. But that was cool. Maybe next time they even got a few British wrestlers I saw on there. But anyway, I couldn't put it up because it was too far away from the camera. So next time, folks, I'll promise I'll have a bit more of a wrestling background to go with our podcast, or maybe I'll get an NWO cap.
That's good. Or just push comes to shove, put a True Grit poster behind you. That's fine.
I almost thought of doing that, and then I realised, that if people are watching this in a year's time, and I'm like advertising a show in York, Good
point. So first match. Memory serves me correct. Malenko.
Dean Malenko and Six. I really like this one. I think you, maybe thought it was a bit disappointing from what you were saying before, because there was a few like this where we've got amazing workers and they were a little disappointing. But for me, this wasn't one of them. I really enjoyed it. I love Six's work. And one thing I wanted to chat to you about, it's interesting. At what point, I guess it was when he was X-Pac, did people start hating on X-Pac? Because he's such a good worker, and he's like, he was so good as 1, 2, 3 kid. I'm really enjoying seeing him as a 6. And then at some point, like, people turn, like he had that phrase, X-Pac heat, didn't he? Like, I
don't know if it was before or X Factor potentially being one of the worst factions ever.
It was a bit before that, and I think that probably didn't help it. But I think it's a really unfair thing that people did to him, because he's been involved in so many good things. But Yeah,
I fully agree. He's one of my favourite workers. He had one of my favourite hidden gem matches on Raw against Bret Hart in '94.
oh yeah,
And his 23 kids. He's
against
for me.
Owen Hart as well at King of the Ring '95. It's just one of the like the quarterfinals. It's really quick, but it's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
But I don't know. I've never understood it. I mean, he's a 2-time Hall of Famer. Potentially could be a 3-time Hall of Famer. He's in there with the NWO. He's in there with DX. I think he's not even in there as a single wrestler.
No, it's not. He's always like been associated with groups, hasn't he? But yeah, maybe 1, 2, 3 kids should go in on his own.
Exactly. Yeah. I would not have an issue with that. If somebody told me he was going in, I would applaud it. And yeah, this is all fresh to me.
He should do, because he's so talented. Like it's almost bad that his reputation is he's almost like the hanger-on in the group, because he's the best worker in any. Well, maybe not Shawn Michaels, but most groups he's in, he's like the worker of the group, and he's just fantastic. And I guess in the NWO, like he's not really a talker; he's always in the background, but his presence is, and we see it in the tag match later on, is just like that little like annoying like sort of kid that's with the gang, like which works really well. Like he's sort of he's got his gang behind him, so he can be a little dickhead, but he plays that role really well.
It does.
I guess
yeah.
reputation backstage, he may have been a bit like that as well this time. Anyway, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Possibly. I was going to say, yeah, I fully agree. And the whole 6 thing is still new to me. I'll say I've barely ever watched WCW, so for me, he's just been X-Pac. And yeah, seeing him as 6, he's like a different character. He's not quite that. He's not that cool guy yet. He's not like the X-Pac from DX, where it's all crotch chopping and coolness. He's just a little shit. Like you said, he's the guy that hides behind Kevin Nash.
Yeah, he does the Bronco Buster in this though.
He did.
This is obviously this is when he started to use it, but it's just another move at this point, like a whip. And X-Pac must have taken more ball shots than any other wrestler. Is there any? I mean, Brock Lesnar took quite a few in that run where a nut shot was the only thing that his opponents could do to hurt him. But I think overall, X-Pac is probably taken more nut shots than anyone. It's every match, and it always looks so painful.
He sells him really well. That's the thing. He's just everything about him is technically sound. His selling is spot on. His technical work, his feet, everything. It's just on point. And yeah, I don't understand. And then you put him in the ring with like a guy like. I think that's why I said I was disappointed with this match, because obviously I'm a massive mark for Malenko as well. I just love the technical. I love the fact that he's a man of 1,000 holds. And you put these 2 guys in. I don't know. I think obviously in my head, I was expecting like an 8-9 star match kind of thing, 8-9 rating.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I gave it 7 out of 10 this one, so not quite. Yeah.
It was still good. Still a damn good score.
But 2, It's interesting because there's a few matches on here, and one of the big things that this match doesn't have, and the other 2 that we're going to talk about, is the crowd were just dead for it. They didn't care, and it's not a dead crowd. Like later on, when we got Hogan, Roddy Piper, and we got the Outsiders, and we've got Sullivan, Benoit, they were going mental. So it's I think I don't think the story was very good going into it. Like they sort of, he's still like, he did the same thing with Eddie last month that sold out. He stole the belt, and it's like, we're not really into this collectomania thing, however much you're pushing it. I thought it was quite good that X-Pac was like trained by his dad, and they brought that into it, but that was almost like secondary. I wasn't really feeling it, and we can compare that to the later matches where I definitely did feel it, even though I was watching it. How many years later are we? We're 26 years later. That's crazy.
Oh shit! It's, not 97. 26 years. So, damn. Right, I thought it was like, it's only 10 years ago. No. So, but yeah, they said emotional investment. It felt like an exhibition match, which it shouldn't have done. It was for the title. They did have a bit of a story to it, but I just didn't care about the story.
Yeah, and the finish was a bit hokey with Eddie Guerrero was involved, wasn't he? And they're gonna pivot to Eddie's heel turn at some point. I wonder if that's going to happen with Dean Malenko, and this is what leads to it. I know that 97. I don't know.
Malenko goes heel first.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, I knew both of them sort of had heel runs, but I'm looking forward to Eddie turning heel.
Yes, Eddie for me is, like I said, I watched the next two sort of nitros kind of thing, so I kind of know where it's going with that. But I think for me, you've got all your big stars and whatnot, but Eddie was MVP for WCW in sort of 96, 97. A lot of everything he did, it was just very, very watchable, which obviously we'll cover more and more kind of thing. We'll see it develop. But yeah, for me, you said 7. I was going to say sort of 6.5. Just because I think, I don't know, in hindsight, talking about it, I'll give it a 7. Because, like I say, it was very far from a bad match. I think I went in there unrealistically expecting an absolute, banger.
Yeah, fair enough. We're both agreed on 7 there. Now, NWO have another belt as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I quite like that finish. I think Malenko sold it really well, though, when Eddie was playing tug of war. And then he kind of let go. And I thought the ref's timing was very good as well.
Yeah,
in fact, when X started going that way, the ref very quickly went that way. So it was believable that he didn't see it, kind of thing. I just thought the timing was spot on, because if that had been a second later, that would have been a DQ, and there's no way around it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's fine. I guess it worked, especially in those days. People hadn't seen it as much.
Yeah. That's it. So what was I'm trying to wrap my brain here. But
the next one, which I love, but was a bit crazy, was the 6-man tag, the Mexican 6-man tag, with Villano 4, Conan La Parca versus Super Calo, Ciclope, and Juvento Guerrero. Juvie, which was just a crazy match. I love that they always bring in Mike Tenay for like the Mexican matches or Japanese matches. Like anything that isn't American, they're like, we don't know about this. Bring in Mike Tenay, he can talk about it. So that's a laugh. They talk about like how 6-man tags is like a common thing in Mexico, which when they said it, I was like, because I don't watch Mexican wrestlers. I was like, I always see 6-man tags whenever I see clips of Mexican wrestling. Like that's a staple, which as a promoter, I was like, God, that's an expensive way to do it. Like, I wouldn't want to have a card full of 6-man tags.
Right, no. I mean, you talk about 6 people per match, 8 matches on average. So like 6 times 8, you're like, that's a lot of paydays.
Yeah, definitely. What was?
I like this, man.
There's so many botches in it. Ciclope and Villano 4, like they just seemed. I think they may be older Mexican wrestlers. Oh, you've cut out a little bit there. Oh, you're back. And there's one, like because they're doing all the dives still, and sometimes they just miss each other and land, and it's like, oh my God, it's really, So there was so many botches, and it was crazy to watch, but part of me really enjoyed it as well. Super Calo, I really like. He's got he's weird with his sunglasses and his hat wearing them, but every time he comes on, like I'm kind of impressed with. He does some impressive stuff, and he always seems like a bit more impressive than some of the other Mexican like ones that I haven't heard of before I started watching this.
I think it was a match of ages. Like Callis did really well, Juvie did really well. I think Conan did really well.
And then I want to talk about Conan. I always leave Conan matches with a slight feeling of disappointment. Imagine if Conan watches this. Sorry, Conan. I quite like him, but I'm always a bit. Again, like I guess it's more like that's the Mexican style. Like I just always seem like there's loads of like the botches everywhere, and I've seen that in every Conan match, and I'm just always slightly underwhelmed. But then it's maybe unfair because I sort of compare him to the likes of Eddie and Rey Mysterio because they all sort of came in at the same time. I found it a bit ridiculous, like the real colourful outfits he used to wear, but I do quite like the direction his character goes now, where he's sort of gangster. Although I find it really, and this is nothing to do with him, but the fact they put him with Dungeon of Doom is just stupid. But I know that's going to change at some point. So I guess, because he comes in with such a reputation, I'm always just, it just seems, the way he works, I find it slightly rushed and slightly off for me. But I don't know. You seem
Yeah.
to be a fan.
Well, I'm not a super fan, but yeah, I kind of appreciate. I think he had some good bits in this. But for me, it was sort of Callis and La Parker. This was their match. I think.
Yeah, La
Or
Parker
like,
was good. I'm a fan of La Parker actually.
Yeah. I was waiting for him to start coming out with the chair and just doing the Parker dance.
He does do something with the chair. He puts him on the chair and does a crossbody through the second and third, which was kind of innovative.
Yes. Well, we talked about that. Callis's, I can't remember what they called it, but it's a move that Eddie's known for doing from the ring apron in. But Callis does it from the in ring out. Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
he does
it into a swanton. Yeah. Rey Mysterio does the same move later on. That crazy move is on the same pay-per-view twice. Yeah, it's insane.
I was just like, because and they both leave it to the last minute just to kind of tuck their heads, and you're just like, jeez. Yeah, it could go so wrong.
My conclusion, I wrote in my notes, a lot of fun, but what a load of bollocks.
There's no need for it, in fairness. There's absolutely
I think that's probably my review of most these 6-man tag Mexican matches we watched. But I quite enjoyed it. I guess like 5 out of 10 because it was enjoyable, but it was also like so sloppy and terrible in parts. You can't really go higher than that. But that was, yeah. But I do really enjoy them. I probably enjoyed it a lot more than other matches I'd give 5 out of 10. So maybe.
And it was better than when WWF tried it at the Rumble.
Yeah, remember way better than that match, definitely.
They did a 6-man Lucha Libre match as well, kind of thing. I think they were both kind of trying to, I don't know if it was WWF kind of trying to counter WCW's Lucha influence at the time. But WCW did a far better job.
I'm interested to see if I can be converted to being a Conan fan by the end of this year.
I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it's when he kind of joined the Wolfpack. Like, kind of sort of started going to appreciate them a bit more because he got to shine a bit more as part of the Wolfpack kind of thing. You know,
he does stand out with the Mexicans because he's like in good shape and stuff, and bigger than a lot of them. And he still, I guess he still does some impressive stuff, but it's just not, it's certainly not as slick as some of the more bigger names.
No, I think it's more street. I don't know if I'm just kind of like making excuses, but I was kind of like to think of it as more, just rough and ready lucha as opposed to smooth lucha.
Rough and ready lucha, yeah. He's like a brawl lucha, I suppose so.
That's it. Right, again, after this one, it wasn't the street fight.
This is the one I want to speak about. Rey Mysterio and Prince Iaukea.
Yes.
So the story, watch the Nitros beforehand. Prince Iaukea beats William Regal for the television title, like really randomly. Like no one expected it. No one really knew who Prince Iaukea was. And that happened. So, rumor has it that they did it sort of as a response to The Rock beating Triple H, because it was like sort of Polynesian newcomer beating a sort of snobby aristocrat type character. And then here, Blue Blood. Now you've got Prince Iaukea beating William Regal in something similar. But I don't. Firstly, if that's true, like why would they copy it? And also, why do we not have Regal and Mysterio on this pay-per-view? Because they've had some matches on Nitro and they're just so good, like the contrasting styles, and they would have had a great pay-per-view match. And instead, we got this, which I am going to go out on a limb and say this is possibly the worst Rey Mysterio match I've ever seen. Not really his fault, but and possibly not Prince Iaukea fault. Like I think he's been put in a spot like way before he's ready. Like Rey Mysterio is obviously young, and Prince Iaukea is young, but he's been wrestling for ages. Prince Iaukea is like 22, I think, and really new. And he sort of got through his match with Regal because Regal just sort of dominated him. But with Mysterio, like he needs someone who can be in the right spot and base for him for all his moves and stuff. And he was a step behind the whole time. He was in the wrong spot. There was loads of blown spots, and I felt a bit bad for Ray because he was obviously struggling with this very new opponent. And he wins again. Like I guess this is all to do with the feud with Mysterio and Regal, but it's like, why did they have to put the TV title on Prince Iaukea? And it probably didn't help him because it was before he was ready. He should have heel turned like The Rock. And and now he could be in Hollywood doing films if.
I think he lacks the charisma, but yeah, I agree. I must admit, I didn't know.
We don't know him though, do we? Maybe he does have charisma. We never saw.
Well, yeah, he just never had a chance to show it in that case. But yeah, I must admit. While I was watching it, I must admit, I didn't know of the rumor, but I was watching it like this is far too much of a coincidence, to have kind of Polynesian like Samoan looking sort of champ. Obviously WWF had The Rock. I was just like, is this their reply to that? But it was like, well, WCW were way ahead in the ratings at this point, so why do they feel the need to copy another promotion? But yeah, I didn't understand it. I don't know why he was champ. Like I said, they put the belt on him way too fast, and they were kind of pushing him down the ending of the match, man. That was just like, I would have slapped him if I was Ray. It's like, trying to give Ray the belt because he didn't win fairly. I'm like, dude, just don't be a melt. Take the belt and just walk out, kind of thing. But that was just, there's been a baby face, there's been a vanilla baby face, and then there's just this. Yeah, it was just like, wow. I'm just surprised he didn't get booed out of the building after that. Like, it's right. You do not give away your belt in wrestling. That's a cardinal sin. You've got that belt. You keep that belt regardless until you get pinned for it, kind of thing. Yeah. To me, it just undermined the belt because even the commentators were like, "Oh, nobody wants the belt." And it's like, "Oh, well, you've just devalued your belt. Well done."
Yeah, I mean, it had moments of because it's Mysterio, but I gave it a 3 out of 10. Initially, I gave it 2 because I was just like, I thought this is awful, but. I then thought it's probably a bit harsh too, considering how. So I still gave it 3 though, which might seem harsh considering I gave that Mexican mess of a match 5. But
yeah, but that was enjoyable, even though I
think this pissed me off because I know, I think it pissed me off because I wish we'd had Regal and Mysterio. And Mysterio is so good, and I've never seen a match so bad with him in it, and. Finish was terrible. It was just the crowd weren't into it. It was just a mess.
Yeah, I fully agree. I gave it a 3.
Really?
I gave it quite low purely because I just, like I said, there was nothing redeeming about it. There was no it was a questionable match, but at least this happened, or at least this happened. Nothing good happened in this match. Like I say, it probably is Ray's worst ever match, and it's not Ray's fault. And just the whole bit with the belt at the end just peed me off. It legitimately annoyed me, that they just managed to devalue the belt.
About that 26 years later.
I'm just like, why? It just makes no sense, Even I'm like, it just annoyed me. That's what I love about this, though. You can go back and watch, wrestling from 26 years ago, and you're still emotionally attached to some bits of it, or even if it's new, it can still annoy you, or you can just get there with your hand in your head, like, why would you do that? And that to me is one of those moments where I was just like, guys, seriously.
Yeah, you might argue it got an emotional reaction out of us, but I feel it's just we're more annoyed at the booking.
Yeah, it wasn't a good emotion. It was genuine, just annoyance.
Yeah, it was just like, this is crap. That's how I
felt. Next up, was it the Jericho
DDP and Buff Bagwell next?
Buff, the stuff. I know you're a fan of. I'm not. I've always kind of bad-mouthed him previously, but I know you can't.
Oh, Buff Bagwell. Oh, yeah. I was going to say different to that. I feel I'm slightly disappointed with Buff now, and I guess I feel like he does have a slightly negative reputation anyway. Maybe for not being a great worker, but some people seem to be huge fans of him still. But I thought, considering how over DDP is, this was a disappointing match. Like it was good, and it was good. We saw the Diamond Cutter, but he doesn't even win with it. He just runs off because NWO comes out. So I wasn't overly keen with this match, considering how they're trying to build DDP, and I guess build Buff as well. But it was a lot more. It was very sort of like traditional like WCW match. I feel like they have these sort of like traditional WCW matches, especially with the sort of newer guys that have been through the power plant like DDP and then guys like maybe Buff Bagwell as well, who have that more traditional sort of muscly wrestler type style, and it was like that. But and I do like that sometimes, but this, it just, yeah, it didn't really hit home for me, and I don't feel the crowd were that into it, despite being so into DDP.
Yeah, I think there was into his entrance. They popped huge when DDP came out.
Yeah.
You know, walking the big fat stogie in his mouth as well. I was like, oh, this is 97 wrestling. You know, embodiment of 97 wrestling. He's walking down with a big cigar in his mouth. Yeah, he's got his new DDP T-shirt. The fans are popping, but yeah, they quieted down very quickly during the match.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, Buff popped me at one point when he was doing a little pose to the camera, and he was like literally talking to the camera, and he's like, right, I'll be right back, and he went off to punch DDP in the face kind of thing. But I thought that was a cool little sort of, I don't know, that amused me. But yeah, the ending was WCW logic is the only way I can put it. They claimed DDP won it by DQ, but nobody touched him. In fact, he should have lost by count out.
Yeah, it's stupid. Really, they should have just given him a clean win. I think like NWO are winning so much on this pay-per-view. Like, just give one of the WCW guys a clean win. Like, I know Benoit does, but that's not even against NWO, so yeah, it doesn't count. But yeah, so yeah, I gave it 4 out of 10. This one, yeah, I thought it was better than Mysterio. Amazing, but this crap match,
Bagwell match, a Buff Bagwell match that's better than a Ray match. It's unfathomable. But it wasn't as good as the 6-man. That's how I.
No, and then the Mexican match is still the second best match on the card. That will change, but yeah.
Oh, yes. So we go from that into it's either the Jericho match or it's the Benoit match.
Yeah, it was Eddie versus Jericho next, which going in, like, I was really excited for. Like, when it started, I was like, there's 2 future like WWE champions there, and yeah, Hall of Fame, like, really like considered 2 of the best of all time, and this is them like at the very start of their career. I thought it was interesting they're both babyface, because I'd say their best work for both of them is as heel. So it was interesting we got babyface match. I don't think I've seen them work together that much, so I'm sure they did in WWE, and I'm sure they did in Japan and stuff, but I can't remember any like notable feuds with them ever. And it might be because they used to be heel, but they were mainly heels.
There's one coming up. I don't know if it's the end of the year. They have match at War Games at some point, because I can remember them having a match and there's 2 rings.
Yeah, see, I'm not big on WCW, so I don't know. But I can't think of any WWE feuds they had, because they were there at the same time for quite a long period of time, weren't they? But,
yeah, it was. I think I don't think they would have crossed paths in WWE, because China got with Eddie after her singles Intercontinental run, where she was feuding with Jericho. So they probably wanted to keep Jericho and China distance kind of thing.
Yeah. So and also Eddie and Jericho were both, they almost like slightly the same role as heels as well. They're like quite cocky, like funny heels, aren't they? Yeah, they're actually quite similar in their character in a way. I don't know, people might not agree with that, but
no, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's kind of like that egotistical, but in a funny kind of.
Yeah, they're both like really funny and like quite sort of arrogant as well, and then they're both sort of have that sort of similar-ish styles, like sort of sort of influenced by Japanese, Mexican wrestling, sort of high-flying style. Both very good. Both, I was going to say both influenced by Shawn Michaels. I'm not sure if Eddie is actually. People just always wish those. People call Eddie call him the Mexican Shawn Michaels, or at least I think Bruce Pritchard did.
No, that's an insult to Eddie. Eddie's just Eddie. He's not the Mexican anyone. He's just Eddie Guerrero.
I think I may be doing a disservice. Like he says that initially he's like, yeah, Eddie's like, yeah, I think no, he says on his podcast, Eddie's described to him as like the Mexican Shawn Michaels, and Bruce Pritchard says no, he's just he's Eddie, but he's just almost as good as Shawn Michaels, and that was the direction that. Because I think he was really good friends with Eddie Guerrero and the whole Guerrero family. Right. He's got some connection to Mexico and their family as well. So yeah, he's very big on Eddie Guerrero and thought he was in the same sort of caliber as Shawn Michaels. So yeah, don't want to misquote what he said there.
Yeah, right, we'll let Bruce off then. That's fine. I won't actually tweet at Bruce. But yeah, I know you sort of said prior that this was slightly disappointing.
Quiet crowd again, like Dean and Six, like Rey Mysterio match. There was boring chants in it as well, I think. Like which is...
I heard that, very quiet, but they were there.
I think maybe people just didn't appreciate, because there was some really good wrestling in it, which is going to be with those two. There were some bits that weren't quite as slick as, but again, it's because it's Jericho and Eddie. Like anyone else had a match like that, I'll be like, wow, these are amazing. But I think it's just because they're both considered like two of the best of all time, and it just slightly disappointing. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I couldn't. Yeah, I thought I preferred Dean Malenko and Six. You may disagree on that, so I had to give it less than that one. But I felt I couldn't give it any less than a 6 because it was still good. But the lack of crowd reaction and slight disappointment made me only give it a 6.
I went 6.5, but I originally went 6.5 with Malenko. I knocked it up to a 7, but I'll stick with this at 6.5. Even by talking about it, it's not hyping me up again to increase it. But
Malenko and 6 to this one.
In hindsight, I do. At the time, I think I probably rated this one high, but that as what happens when we're talking about it. I think I kind of judge it as well on my emotion, how hyped I get talking to you about it. And yeah, I got a bit more hyped talking about the Malenko match, thinking about it again. Whereas this one, I was just like, it was a good match. But I think the problem is we're suffering from hindsight. We know how good these guys become.
Yeah.
So we're kind of watching these matches and being disappointed, that they're not at that level yet.
Yeah.
So.
But I think it's... Also, they're both baby faces here, so I think they're both so good in that heel role. It's missing that element. The crowd's just not into it, so yeah, it's just let down on a few fronts, really.
Yeah, and like I said, the boring chant. It was just it's unthinkable. Like you've got Jericho, but I didn't really like this incarnation of Jericho. He's the baby, he's the white baby face.
Yes, he's going to turn heel as well at some point this year. I'm looking forward to that.
I hope it's this year when he starts doing. I think it might be next year when he starts doing like the petitioning and stuff, or we get the list of 1,001 holds.
Yeah,
his feud with Malenko is. I remember that from going through WCW previous. That was that was just like emotional. You'll pop your head for that when it happens.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, next up, random tag match which doesn't have the Steiners in. Oh, that was a big thing that happened on Nitro. The outsiders ran the Steiners off the road. Like they flipped their car. Like could have killed them.
And yet they don't get arrested.
Yeah, they proper shunt the car. And Rick Steiner's throwing bottles and stuff out the window at him. And strangely, they film it. And I don't know how WCW get their hands on the film. Because if you were NWO, you would have thrown that camera away, straight away. So there's a bit of a missing link there. But I think Scott Steiner needed surgery. And they were meant to be in this tag match with the 3 tag teams. But instead, it's just 3 now. I think it was meant to be 4 corners, but it's 3 instead.
That's another match we've got coming up. I totally forgot about. So I've just done that. It's just reminding me of another match that's coming up. The 4 Horsemen match.
Oh yeah.
The tag match. So obviously we had Public Enemy, the ECW boys who are trying to make it in WCW. Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
And our favourite tag team. I think
I love Face to Face. So underrated. And in this match as well, I thought they were great. They were the highlight of the match. Every match they're in, they're the highlight for me. I just love them. I love Barbarian's belly to belly off the top rope. He does it to big guys. I just love how hard Haku is, or Ming. Just generally everything he does. His crescent kick is good. I like their double They do
the throw of a powerbomb thing.
Yeah, they've got such good moveset. I just think they're really underrated.
Bob, is it Stevie Ray they try it with? They try it with a big guy. Well, they're all quite big guys anyway, to be fair. But Ming kind of throws him over.
Does a back
Barber nearly drops him, and he just picks him back up again. Yeah. And he just looks so easy. You know, he's just picking this guy up. That's like probably weighs as much as he does.
There's a clip later on where Jericho interferes in something that they're involved with. I can't remember. I think it's it must be with they're beating on Eddie Guerrero. I think it was to build to that match, and Jericho comes out and he's like drop kicking and hitting Ming, but it just looks kind of like Ming's no selling it of it. It looks really funny. and then he does sell it, but it kind of looks like, oh, he's just, because you know his reputation as well. It makes me think it's so unrealistic.
Yeah. I liked this match. Again, Harlem Heat. It always kind of freaks me out when Harlem Heat. The fact that Booker T still kind of came out to the same music later on. I was like, I associate that music with King Booker kind of thing, or Booker T in WWE, and then I hear it. It's Harlem Heat. It takes me a second to kind of adjust. Obviously, they came out. You've got to see Sensational Sherry, which is always a plus. I think she's one of the best valets.
Yeah, good.
And then you had the Public Enemy bringing out the table, which got put to good use later. I don't know if that was intentional, but they kind of brought the table out for a spot in another match. And then the match itself, I liked.
Which match is that? Is it Sullivan Benoit? Oh yeah, of course. The finishes with the table. I didn't. Yeah, that's cool.
The commentators are like, "Oh, Benoit's found something that the Public Enemy left."
Yeah.
Or forgot, and he just picked up the table. I just thought it was a nice little continuity kind of thing. But so we get. It was meant to be a fatal four. We get the three-way instead. But anybody can tag anybody, can't they? So they've kind of got that. Yeah. Public Enemy are just being very snide and just call it smart, call it snide, whatever you want to call it. But they're just kind of, the whole match is basically Faces of Fear versus Harlem Heat.
Yeah. Do you think that was maybe because Harlem Heat and Face of Fear didn't really want to work with Public Enemy? I always feel like people don't really enjoy working with Public Enemy. Like they're obviously when they go to WWE, acolytes sort them out. But, I just think they're very sloppy, aren't they? And they're not great workers.
Yeah, I've never been a fan. People loved them as, I think majority of ECW fans have fond memories. I'm an ECW fan. I don't particularly I never really talked to them. Was this meant to be for the number one contendership?
Maybe that means we've got Public Enemy against Outsiders.
No, we don't. That's what I need to talk about
at
some point. Because I could have sworn they said the winner of this gets a title shot kind of thing, but then they totally just go back on that and they're like the next Nitro, which kind of reinforces the whole nobody wants to work with Public Enemy, so forget about it.
Well, they did like a weird switcheroo with the titles where Public Enemy got them from Harlem Heat, and then I think they were going to drop them to Outsiders, but I think Harlem Heat got them back straight away, and that might have been the Outsiders politicking, saying we don't want to work with Public Enemy.
I would not put it past them, kind of thing. I just don't think the ending I thought it is what it is. Obviously, they wanted, but they're trying to get Public Enemy over.
I didn't really like it, but I'm not. I think I just like the other two teams so much, and I was a bit like, why are they making Public Enemy win? But also all three of these teams have already sort of been contenders for the belts recently, so if it is meant to be number one contender, it's kind of not very interesting because we've seen it before. And obviously the Steiners are going to be coming for the belts at some point because they almost got killed by the Outsiders.
It's justification right there.
So I didn't, because it was very short as well, this match. I suppose I did actually rate it lower, but now I'm thinking about it, I can't really rate it lower than the Mexican match. It's kind of like, maybe I did enjoy the Mexican match more, but I did like Face of Fear. Maybe 4.5 I'll give it.
I gave it a solid. I gave it a 5 because,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm looking at it as a Harlem Heat versus Faces of Fear match.
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah, they did do some. I'm happy with 5. Yeah, but I think I did enjoy the Mexican match more, even though this was probably. Although I did enjoy Face of Fear. I think. Yeah. Just
Call
public.
it a 5, and just on any given day you can change your mind.
But,
Yeah.
All right.
And that ending was that ending kind of thing. I think Public Enemy was just there to provide the table for another match. That was their use. They made themselves useful. What was the next
match? I find ridiculous the storyline: Mongo McMichael versus not Jericho, Jarrett.
Yeah.
Which
I
find the whole thing like Jarrett. Although Jarrett doesn't even seem interested in Deborah, but Deborah's like interested in Jarrett, and McMichael just looks like he looks like a bit of a pleb, like letting his wife like do this stuff with Jarrett. And you'd just be like, come on, just like, what you stop doing that, or like
I'd borrow from ringside. You'd literally just stop it.
It's unrealistic how forgiving Mongo is in this situation.
And he doesn't strike me as that kind of a guy. You can
imagine him it's not consistent with his character at all.
Yeah. Anybody who knows me knows my disdain of Jarrett nowadays. I don't mind talking about Jarrett matches at this period because I think the guy was relevant and he was a solid worker at the time. And he would have been a good fit for the Horsemen for me at that time period. But like I said, the whole storyline behind it just doesn't make any sense. I'm not buying it.
So that wasn't. They weren't very clear on commentary. Like they say it once. If he wins, he's a member of the Horsemen.
Yeah.
So he's a Horseman now, is he? The 5 Horsemen. Or was Mongo got kicked out?
Yeah, well, no, that's what they don't know about. They address that on like the Nitro afterwards kind of thing. Because that's the question. Like saying, is it still the 4 Horsemen or are they just the Horsemen? Is Jarrett in and somebody else is out? They're like, oh, you better tune into Nitro tomorrow to get some answers, kind of thing, basically. But yeah, they have a match on Nitro. They have a tag match the night after, kind of thing. It all kicks off again.
So possibly the best Mongo match ever, but still 4 out of 10. But that's because he does have a lot of terrible matches, doesn't he, old Mongo? Although I do quite enjoy them, and he is trying. But
yeah, that's it. I'm kind of like I kind of like the guy, even though I shouldn't. I don't know what it is about him. I'm just kind of like.
I must admit, I always look forward to his bits. I find it comical. He's tagged with Benoit because they're like the 2 sort of less established ones in the 4 Horsemen, but it's one of like the best wrestlers and worst wrestlers on the card. Maybe that's why they did it, though. I guess they're sticking him with good wrestlers to teach him a thing. And he's obviously an athlete because he did American football, but he does just look lost, and he just.
Well, apparently he's a massive name. Like, I think they kind of big him up during this match. Like, saying he holds records in the NFL and stuff like that. For whatever team he played for. But obviously, we're not American. We don't care.
I think he's won a Super Bowl. He's got a Super Bowl ring. Yeah. That was when he first came in. That was like a big. Before he joined the Horsemen, he was against him and I can't remember the other one. Another NFL player were against Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, and that was his first match. That's probably the best Mongo match. That was actually for what it was, because it was like a celebrity match. It was quite good. But then when he became a proper wrestler, it's just funny. And I've seen so many clips that like highlight videos of him botching. That's all I think of when I see his matches now, with like silly music and stuff.
Yeah. Actually, you can just imagine it like Harry Hill music or something, or Benny Hill music, and just like falling down all over the shop. But yeah, it consists of like a clothesline, a slam, and a chop block. That's pretty much his repartee.
So I never thought I'd be saying this, but I think I've rated the Mongo match higher than the Mysterio match.
It's unfathomable. I've said it like 3 times tonight so far. But yeah, the Rey Mysterio match was that bad. I can't fault you. I did it as well. Just purely for again, it makes no sense, but I kind of liked the ending. I like the suitcase being thrown over Mongo's head. Jarrett did an awesome job just catching it, and then just the noise for me. I would give it 4 stars just for that noise. That suitcase dong on his head. Beautiful.
Yeah. He loves using that suitcase. I can't even remember why he's got that.
I don't know.
Like,
it's not football related, is it? You know what I mean? It's not like he's carrying around a football or a helmet or something.
I can't remember if he had a contract in there to be with the Horsemen at some point or something.
Right.
But I think when he first joined, there was that was something to do with the storyline, and he's just always kept it. It's his little suitcase he carries around. It's his little hold-all for when he doesn't want to do luggage on aeroplanes.
It makes no sense. You've got this established football rap, but it does make for some good spots, and it does get used quite a lot over the next.
It's got a good noise. Yeah, he uses it for every finish, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I think it's used again on the next Nitro or the Nitro after, and it just makes it's nearly as good as the bedpan against Vince and Austin. It's just a perfect sweet spot. Just the noise alone gets 4. If it gets a 4 rating.
Right, 4. There we go. The next match I really enjoyed, actually. I think the last 3 matches, the crowd just and we had this on Sold Out, actually. Like, we had sort of quite a dead crowd all the way through, and then the last 3 matches, like, they just were up. They had the ladder match, the Outsiders, and Hogan match, and here similar. You've got like a sort of gimmick match, and then the Outsiders, and then Hogan. So similar formula. They seem to do the similar booking each time, and it works. Like, just a few sort of build-up matches, and then they smash it out of the park with the last 3. Taskmaster and Benoit, a bit uncomfortable, like seeing Benoit and Woman sort of come down, and also like Woman's getting strangled in the match, which is a bit like, obviously they didn't know then what was going to happen, but you are watching it like, oh fuck, this is a bit.
In hindsight,
I don't like watching this. But putting that aside, this is obviously years and years before then. It's all 4 of them together are great in this. I think that storyline was getting really stale, and Jacqueline just really put some life into it. And I'm not sure many others could do that. I think Jacqueline's really good in this role. She comes in, she seems like proper like hard woman, like she's beating up the jobbers that face Sullivan, like on the outside, like suplex. Like, she does more moves than Sullivan does in most of his matches because he throws her out and she does like suplex.
She's a technical one, isn't she? Really, she's a rough houser, but she can wrestle.
I thought she did well. I actually thought Woman did well, considering she's not a wrestler. Like, they still were like smacking the crap out of each other with that belt. Really good. Like, Benoit and Sullivan always just looks realistic, possibly because it was realistic in points. I think they've got there's it feels genuine because people know about the backstory there. So everything about it I thought was really, really good, actually, and also credit to the people involved for, given their personal backstage sort of politics, to still be able to go out there and do it. And also credit to Jacqueline for getting involved in that mess and being professional. Whoa, where you gone?
I'm still here, sorry. I was just trying to plug my light in. I knocked my stand over. I'm still here. But Jacqueline must have been very uncomfortable, in that working environment, because, like I say, getting in the middle of that, getting in between those guys.
And those 2, that actually marks the biggest, like a huge pop. And from that point onwards, for the whole show, the crowd are into it. The moment that starts and Jacqueline and Woman go for each other with the belt, like, the crowd, it's the biggest reaction up until this point on the show. And then the crowd it's like a different crowd from then on. It's they're so into it, and it's really good. Table doesn't break at the end, which is
that's a bumping off. That is.
On top of Sullivan and gets squashed in between, pancaked in between them.
Yeah, she sacrificed herself for a man. But there's a bit like I think about halfway through the match where Woman and Jacqueline have got the strap. Because obviously it starts off with those 2 the straps together, kind of thing. Obviously the strap comes off and it gets used for different reasons. But I love the fact that they both kind of clothesline their men.
That's it's like a comedy spot, but it's really good the way they do it. Like, it's just, and the commentators are great because they're just like aware like how like chaotic it is, and I think they react well. Everything, yeah, I think everything is just done. And the fact the table doesn't break isn't even a problem. Like that just adds to the chaos in a way. It might be a problem for Jacqueline getting squished in real life.
But I think the brain sells it really well, because the brain's like, it would have been better for them if the table had broken, kind of thing. You know, they've actually done more damage by the table not breaking.
Yeah, and they're saying,
it just sells.
Benoit hit his head and stuff, and they all go off in the hospital. Like, and Jimmy Hart and Woman are like consoling each other, even though they're on different sides, which is, and they commentators talk about it. Yeah, really well done this match.
And you've got Paul Orndorff to come out, get help. Like Paul Orndorff comes out. Donny Terry Taylor's there.
Yeah,
you know, it looks legitimate. Like, crap, we're worried about these guys.
I think I'm going to have to up my ratings, because I've just realised I gave this a 7, but I've got to give it more than the Dean Malenko match, because I definitely enjoy it. It's definitely better. I think probably 7.5. I think, yeah, because we gave that ladder match 8, didn't we, on Sold Out? I keep using reference, but it's such a different sort of match.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know, this is almost like, I can't really fault this match. Maybe it should get an 8. I don't know.
I gave it an 8, but then part of me is always like, that's in comparison to other matches on the card. I know there's going to be other matches that are a lot better that should be an 8 or a 9, but on this night, on this pay-per-view, based on the other matches, yeah, this is clear. This is an easy 8 for me, just for the emotion, just for the different moments in there.
Yeah,
it may even have got an 8.5 if I wasn't uncomfortable-ish, watching it at times.
Yeah. Although this is not my favorite match on the card.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Okay, we're in agreement with that. I'm quite excited to talk about it.
Well, I'm a massive mark for Scott Hall. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that.
That's next. Yeah, that was my favorite match. Yeah. So, okay, we'll be generous then and give it an 8 then, maybe, because I think it deserves an 8. Yeah, wrestling's about emotional reactions, and it's really, gives me one.
I mean, obviously we've seen it. We saw it at like the leads up to. I'm trying to think if Sullivan and Benoit had a match that sold out as well, didn't they? They went through the toilets. They all went backstage and stuff. So this is we've had many matches, yet they went out of the way on this one, and it still it felt fresh. It felt
fresh.
I hadn't seen it before.
Like she's really underrated, Jacqueline. Like I think I've never seen her early stuff, but this is good, and she's obviously good in WWF when she goes there as well.
That's it. Yeah, well, she obviously traded Kevin Sullivan for Mark Mero at some point. So, no, I think she's got bad taste in men.
Oh, yeah, certainly, yeah. She's always the one they bring in to be like the next girlfriend. Like that seems to be her role. It's a bit unfair, really. Like,
she should be first pick, not second choice all the time. But
no. I find it funny how in shape she is, and then she wears like the little diddy shoes. It just looks like kind of funny.
Yes, I think I think it's just like, so it's because of the size. Anything that makes the feet look small. If I think it's when wrestlers wear like Roderick Strong got the shitty little boots chant all the time. It's just if your feet look small, I can't take my eyes off it sometimes. And I found that with Jackie every now and again. I was like, it sounds weird, but I'm looking at her feet like, she's got really tiny feet, but she's she's built like an absolute beast.
Yeah, it's funny. I found it was a very strange emotion watching Benoit and Woman come out together, because you can actually see like a lot of like on-screen warmth between them, even though they're both quite cold characters. They're obviously like very in love with each other at this point, and it was very mixed emotion of like, oh, like that's in that moment that's quite nice to see, but then it's horrible to think how it ended up. And obviously I don't know that for sure that they were, but I assume that they were madly in love at this point, and a very good relationship. And it's it's just so sad to like think how it ended up. I saw an interview in the last, I won't sidebar too much, but just before we talked tonight, I saw an interview with David Benoit, talking about his dad being inducted in the Hall of Fame and how it should happen, and it's like, oh man, that's it can never happen. But it's really, watching these old nitros, and seeing that occasionally, you do just think like, man, it's so sad that will happen.
Like, yeah, cause it's obviously, you know, it's a perfect career kind of thing for me. He was, you know, he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't change what he did. Like,
Nope.
whatever anyone says, and however anyone gets upset about like separating the artist with the person and stuff, or like mental problems he had, it still happened, and that's always going to overshadow it. Anyway, sorry, went a bit dark.
No, that's fine.
I feel, when you see stuff like this, it's better to sort of talk about it because you think it, and so yes, you should address it.
Oh no, definitely, I agree with that every time. You know, because at least then people, again, it gets out there, people can hear it, and if they agree, they agree. If they disagree, they disagree. But it is an opinion. But at the end of the day, it's somebody's opinion. But yes, next we have a very in shape, young-looking Paul White.
Yeah.
Dude's a hench at this point. You know what I mean? He hasn't got he's still looking good. It's still, you going into this match thinking, because obviously Luger's been taken out, so it's a 2-on-1 tag match for the titles. I'm going into this match, you know, I kind of know the result anyway, but if I didn't, I'd still be like, you know what, Big Show's got a chance, Paul White's got a chance here, even against.
My first note was, I hate handicap matches. I just don't like them. I think I think it always just makes the team of two just look a bit crap. And it's always the same sort of story. But of all the people you can put in a handicap match, it kind of works for Giant. I've never seen, this is the best handicap match I've ever seen, hands down. But I mean, that's not really saying much because I don't really enjoy them usually. But this is definitely the best handicap. I going in this, I was a bit like, oh yeah, it's going to be, probably going to be a bit crap this. Definitely the best match on the card. I absolutely loved it. I thought everyone involved, and again, we've just put the Big Show and Kevin Nash ahead of Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko and Jericho and Guerrero. Yeah, all the vanilla midgets, as Kevin Nash would say. I don't say that nowadays. So,
Well, or the vanilla vertically challenged people. If Nash ever sees this, he'll be like, I told you so. We are the best.
Yeah. If Nash, he'll be like, yeah, you see, I wasn't. Yeah, I was more, and I suppose he'd be right. Like he got such a better reaction but then this is spot in the card. But I did think that for all like the slack that Nash gets, and like, oh, he had no moves, like he was just lazy. We've done 2 of these now for WCW. The Outsiders have been the best match on or maybe the ladder match on the last one. Certainly one of the best matches on the card. Both times, like Scott Hall's just fantastic. I love him. But Nash is good as well, and like maybe he doesn't have as many moves as some people.
That spot you sent me, dude. We got to get straight.
Like that's crazy. Like you're saying, like he's not. I know he drops it on his head like a year later, but at this point, the jackknife on Giant here looks fantastic, and it's just it's great. It's the move of the night for someone who people say can't wrestle. He does a move of the night.
It's mental. Like I said to you, and he sells it so well as well. You know, just going down afterwards. It's just maybe that's where his quad issues started. Maybe if he'd never done that move, you know, he would never had the leg issues later on or the leg injuries.
It's almost like they knew because, or Facebook probably did know. When I sent you that today, I got a clip of a Click This podcast with Kevin Nash of him talking about powerbombing Paul White, and when it went tits up. I bet that's Facebook knowing it. Yeah, like he saw me sending the clip to you. But he was talking about when he, although he kind of put the blame on Paul White, which I thought was a bit unfair. Like he said, he was smoking too much and eating too many hot dogs, so he got too heavy. And he asked Paul White not to do it, but Big Show said, "Yeah, I want to do it," and he drops him on his head. But here, because I was like, "Is he going to drop him on his head here?" But then it's just so clean.
It's perfect. It's just
Luger coming out. It's just a really good way to finish the match. You get such a good pop. The torture choke slam.
I liked the fact that they're smart with it as well, and they actually cover it on commentary, where obviously Luger wins with the torture rack, but they make sure Paul pins Scott Hall afterwards, kind of thing. And it's like covering the bases. So if they want to turn around and say, "Oh well, Luger wasn't in the match, it doesn't count," they actually sort of be like, "Well, you pin him 1, 2, 3," and then they can't say squat, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really smart with it.
I assume on Nitro they're going to reverse the decision again, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, they try to, and that basically it sets up the stipulation for uncensored, which is the next pay-per-view kind of thing. So they're planting the seeds now for the next pay-per-view, but it does kind of tie into Bischoff being like, "I want the belts back."
So
right.
Yeah, and also Luger smacks Bischoff. That gets such good reaction as well.
We talked about it before because obviously, like I said, we're both more
Luger
WWF
as well as in
guys.
this. God, so we 3 wrestlers people say are a bit crap: Nash, Luger, and Big Show, all in the best match of the night. Better than Mysterio, better than I'm gonna keep saying that.
But
get these sound bites, your podcast, where I'm like, Lex Luger is better than Dean Malenko. People are like, what? Who is this guy he's interviewing?
we'll just sign by it, tone it out, sort of we'll just edit it, so like fake news kind of thing.
Yeah, Mongo McMichael has better matches than Rey Mysterio.
Oh wow! We could become infamous just on the back of this. We could become like the new Cornette or something, where we just get people going at us. But yeah, the WCW fans love Luger. As just, like I say, we're WWF guys really through and through. Our memories of Luger is the Narcissist, the Total Package, the Lex Express.
I like the Lex Express. Yeah, not many other people did, but I was a big mark for the American stuff, which is weird because I was English. But I think I really wanted to live in America when I was a kid. So anything American, I just really liked.
I didn't think you'd like him because he kind of like was taking the light away from Bret at the time, kind of thing. And Bret was doing everything he could to kind of get that main event spot.
I preferred Lex. Oh god, another soundbite for you. I preferred Lex Luger to Bret Hart back then.
James Starr prefers Lex Luger to Bret Hart. I'll cut off the back then bit. I'll just be like, that's it. That's the soundbite.
When Luger and Bret won the Rumble together, when I just watched the Rumble, I was like mad. I was like, oh, Luger should have won it. I'm sure his feet touched the floor. And I was like, Bret shouldn't have even been in the Rumble. He's too injured.
It's crazy, isn't it? But you're just like, the WCW fans, you'll see this all year, pay-per-views that we watch. Yeah. They just go nuts for Luger. They love him.
I like him as well in this WCW. Yeah. It's good. Again, he's limited in his moveset, but he's got so much fire. And I'm always excited when he does stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I know Heyman got a lot of credit in ECW for emphasizing strengths and hiding weaknesses. But I think WCW and this time did an amazing job at, emphasizing strengths and hiding weaknesses of guys, like Luger and stuff. But they felt genuine main eventers, regardless of talent.
Well, I think one name probably really helped with that, Ric Flair. Guys like Luger. I guess he did to an extent with Sting's a lot better worker than Luger, but I think Ric Flair really helped Sting in his early days when he was a bit green. I think he did that with loads of WCW guys.
Yeah, rightly so. I mean,
Goldberg probably, they did that well with. They'd given him short matches and stuff. So actually, fairness for all the bad stuff that WCW did booking wise, was some really good stuff and clever stuff how they book people. Yeah. Obviously, the NWO stuff was great. But.
Yeah, that's it. They just kind of didn't improve on it. They could only hide it for so long, kind of thing. But they didn't do anything to make it fresh eventually. But thoroughly enjoyed this match. If we're given the Benoit match an 8, it's got to be an 8.5.
Yeah, we have to give it 8.5, right? We can't go above that because the final 4 was definitely better than this. But this is probably my second favorite match I've seen of all the ones we've watched.
After the Fatal 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was better than the ladder match. Just whole storyline wise, everything. I agree with that. Obviously, the final 4 has been the match so far. This is the second match so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've got to keep hold of this because if we do a top 10 at the end of the year, this will be in contention.
So far we've 1 and 2. See who can. So these are going to be in the top 10 so far. I think. I don't think anything else we've seen will make it to top 10. But
a Big Show, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Lex Luger match is the second best match of the year so far.
And this is the year we're calling the God year. People have got it all wrong. These guys are great.
Oh, it's you can't make it up. It's brilliant, but we know it gets better as well. But even still, this is just good wrestling. This is wrestling basics. It's just enjoyable, man. I am thoroughly enjoying watching. Even the bad matches, I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
For different reasons. But obviously, that match is out of the way, and it's a good job it's Hogan and Piper next, because nobody. I think the crowd would have just gone downhill after that match. But obviously, they stay high for Piper and Hogan.
Yeah, and they're so into it. Like my notes, I put iconic, like good brawl and story. Both WCW gets a lot of crap for their main events not being very good wrestling. Like they always say that the undercard was better for WCW, but the main events were better in WWF. But there's still like the drama and stuff that goes into these main events. I really enjoy seeing like heel Hogan and Piper, and it's just so charged, and they always have like interest. I know the finish was crap against Giant, but this finish is like, at least it's very interesting, like seeing what's going to happen with Savage.
I'll get your thought on this, because they do kind of acknowledge it later on a Nitro, but they don't acknowledge it on the night that Macho Man pulled Hogan under the rope. But they kind of do the best to get the camera away from it, so you don't see Macho Man do it. So it's a question mark, like, was Hogan's feet under the rope to start with, but it's Macho Man pulled him under the rope kind of thing. You do see it if you watch him very carefully.
Yeah. Well, you definitely see it on the one that I watched, but he pulls him under the rope after he releases the hold. Yeah, he does.
You can see the cameras, they are trying to make it so you can't see it that well, but obviously you do see like split second here and there, but it's not, they don't keep the camera on him while he's doing it. You kind of still see the starting to do it or just ending doing it kind of thing.
Okay.
Not see,
you see him giving not the brass.
That what a punch though. That is one of the best power of the punches I think I've seen. Just like the uppercut, and whether it's Piper selling it or there's something about it, it just looks sweet. To corner for it.
Another soundbite for you. Hulk Hogan's got one of the best punches in the business. Never thought I'd hear anyone say that with his hokey little punches he does usually.
It was though, wasn't it? It just looked on for me, that uppercut.
Yeah. It did look really good. It was
tell me I'm not going crazy.
It's just funny, the idea of Hogan being a good puncher.
We didn't mention punches in the Scott. We didn't big Scott Hall up this time around. We're bigging up Hogan for his punches instead, kind of thing.
Yeah. God, didn't Scott Hall bounce around, because he's a big guy? Because he has to be the bump taker, though, doesn't he, against Giant?
I think he's the smallest guy, barring obviously when Luger gets in there. Yeah. But between the three of them that start, Hall's the smallest guy, so he's taking the bumps. But he's always been a good fella though, as Hall for me. Yeah,
he's great. Oh, sorry, on with Hogan and Macho. So I was genuinely excited to like see what they did, and when Macho Man's just there on the outside, I felt like a real sense of anticipation, and like I didn't know, even though like I sort of know the direction it's going in, but I was just thinking, like, watching that live at the time must have been so, because I was excited even just now, 26 years later, and I actually genuinely disliked Macho Man when he did it, because I think because I've been watching all the old Nitros from '96, and I was just like, man, what he did to you and what he did to Elizabeth, and it was Macho Man that he turned on originally when the NWO, and I was just like, oh, why has he done this? Like, what? Yeah, it's just it's almost like pathetic that he's joined the NWO. I felt really disappointed in him.
Again, it's the emotion, isn't it? But I totally understand.
I'm interested to know, and I hope they don't sort of ruin it, but I hope he's got good, justifiable reasons why he's joined the NWO.
They don't even really address it. He's just there. It's icon and icon. There's a bit of speculation. It's just because I think at some point he's been talking about he's been blacklisted or he's been blackballed.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to wrestle anymore. He's not allowed back in the company or something. And Bischoff was being a massive pleb to him kind of thing. So this was his only way back into the company kind of thing, or this was his only way back into wrestling. Huh?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know if I like that or not, but this
It don't fit because it's not like he's doing it begrudgingly. He's all
yeah,
there, he's 100% into doing it, kind of thing. So that doesn't sit as a reason.
yeah,
I just think, if he just sort of said he just wanted the money, I'll be like, okay, I can kind of, any man can understand, a
yeah.
big pay.
It's kind of like gone back on his sort of dignity and morals for just purely for money. I feel I would have dug that
Yeah.
storyline a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if he even did it for Elizabeth, because she's obviously with the NWO as well now. So that's going to be interesting. Those two are together in the NWO. I'm interested to know. Like, is she going to like not be upset anymore because Macho Man's there? I'm interested to see how that goes because she's always there begrudgingly, isn't she? So
second Nitro, you'll find out.
Yeah. It's interesting to know they left it open ended with Sting. So obviously he came out, but he didn't come out to help Roddy Piper. So it's a bit like we still don't know what side he's on. So it was done pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, it's done really well, and it does lead up to like I said, the next pay-per-views building. I'm generally looking forward to watching Uncensored and talking about that as of when we do, because it's
Cage, and it's not called, but is it Piper and Flair against Hogan and Macho Man? Maybe that's not happening yet.
It's 3 teams of 3. You've got Team WCW, Team NWO, and Team Piper.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
So far, that's where he's going so far, storyline wise, kind of thing.
He's got like Earthquake with him and stuff, doesn't he?
I've just watched it this afternoon. It's the second episode of Nitro after this.
I know. I've seen clips of it before. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got like an open challenge. He's like, there's 6 guys in the back, giving the thumbs up or the thumbs down. It goes on for about 15, 20 minutes. The audience are just lost. Like, what is going on? There's like,
it's ridiculous.
I'm sure. Oh, who was it? There's some guy there. I'm sure it's like a young Luther. Oh, what's his name? He used to be in WWE. Luther Reigns. Luther Reigns, yes. I want to say Reigns. I was like, was it Reigns? Yeah, I'm sure it's a young Luther Reigns comes out. And there's a couple of other guys. And you just like it. Generally, it's just a massive clusterfuck. And we'll have to talk about it before Uncensored because it's just key. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm saying it's massive clusterfuck, but it's just awesome. Piper's promo is brilliant. But this match, yeah, obviously, Macho Man turns, hits the elbow. Jobs are good, and Hogan does his normal talking into the mic, into the camera at the end of the show.
I find it funny that when they're doing the moves on Piper at the end and they're trading like leg drops and then the elbow drops, and it's like how much better Macho Man's move is than Hogan's. He does such a good like picture perfect elbow drop, and then Hogan like kind of like botches his own leg drop a little bit. I think his ass is probably hurting at this point in his career, but he's
more than likely. But yeah, that, again, it just shows the tail. I was always a Macho Man back in the day, kind of thing. I always preferred him over Hogan. I was like the little guy. And yeah, this just embodies that whole, like you sort of said, the elbow drop versus the leg drop. It's like, is it even a thing, But yeah, Macho Man's back on the scene. Obviously, now he's joined the NWO. We've got the Diamond Dallas Page thing to look forward to going forward. This is going to start building towards Savage and DDP. It's just, there's a lot of cool stuff in this that's planting the seeds going forward.
Yeah, definitely. What do we give this match? Because it's it's like the wrestling isn't great in it, but it is pretty epic. I feel like I don't think it can be as high. It certainly can't be as high as a handicap match. I think I prefer Benoit and Sullivan.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's the benchmark. I
originally gave it a 7, but I think I have to give it more than like Dean and 6 just because of the crowd. Like again, like valuing Hogan over Dean Malenko is quite funny, but I think but I suppose in a way, like he is like he's involved in like the main events, and it is I did like watch probably 7.5. I'll give it.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of did the same because, like I say, given the Benoit Sullivan match in 8, it's not there, but it's close. What a lot of people, I don't know, I'm sorry, just a little tangent in a minute, but this is kind of really making me think about sort of modern day WWE with like the whole bloodline sort of stuff, where they're having better matches on the card beneath the main event, but the storyline and the emotion in the main event is what's kind of pulling you through or making you watch the match. It's like it might be a really good match, but I'm probably never going to rewatch it, or I might rewatch it at some point. But it's the same with the WCW main events going forward. Is they're not going to be 5-star bangers, but the storyline's there and the emotions there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's what wrestling's all about at the end of the day. And this pay-per-view is, it's good evidence of that.
But I was just really happy to see Piper again. So I was a massive WrestleMania 8 against Bret Hart. It's one of my favorite ever matches. Love Piper. And I'm happy to anytime I see him on my screen, to be honest. So I'm going to be happy over the next few pay-per-views, I think. I think he plays a big part for the first half of this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much he was in it, actually. But obviously, because I never really associate him with WCW. But he has like almost a year-long run, doesn't he? Like main event.
Yeah, I never did. Like I said, it wasn't until I watched it previously that I kind of realised, it's like, yeah, Piper's was quite a big player in WCW, 96, 97.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, it was cool because obviously it was before the downfall kind of thing, sort of the alcohol and whatnot. But he's still in goodish shape at this point. He can still work. The fans love him. He's charismatic as the devil kind of thing.
They always talk about how in 1996 he didn't headline WrestleManias, but he was in a feature match against Goldust, and then WCW's big pay-per-view Starrcade he main evented. Like, considering how far he was in his career, the fact that he was like in a sort of main event spot on the biggest shows for both companies in the year, like in 96, one of the hottest, the hottest times ever, is no one else did that. I guess Kevin Nash did. He was against Undertaker, and then he was in an outsiders match on Starrcade, but he didn't main event one of them. So that's who else?
I didn't know about that. So, of course, it was the same year, wasn't it? So, I think, and I'm never going to big up Hogan. I'm never going to say I was a fan of his.
He got his hat.
I know. It's a WCW hat more than anything. I got given it in all excuse. I just think it's a good chance to wear it. Yeah. So I will trade it for a Macho Man one if anybody's got one or wants to give me one. But yeah, you put Piper and Hogan together, it just works, man. The chemistry. I don't know if it's a genuine disdain for each other or something, but it's just sparks. And yeah, it works really well. So, I'm quite looking forward to it progressing. I'll take Hogan and Piper in one or two more matches.
Yeah. Interesting. And it's good to see. I enjoy them both, but very different emotion watching WCW than WWF. WWF's just very nostalgic for me, whereas WCW's like, it's more like there's a lot of like aha moments because I know my wrestling history, but there's so many like bits of the jigsaw missing from WCW because I didn't watch it back in the day. So it's almost like a lot of like curiosity is sort of fulfilled watching WCW.
You can watch it's like watching wrestling again as a kid kind of thing because you're watching it fresh. Like say, you know the destination, but you don't know what happened on the journey every bit.
Yeah.
So we're both kind of like experience. I think that's why this is such a good chat as well, because when we're talking about it, it's like it's new, it's like it's fresh, it's we're getting hyped for it.
We're very in line with our scores this time. I thought last time we were maybe slightly we're not in line. I was intrigued when I was watching it. I thought maybe we'd be a bit different on some of them, but we weren't. I think we kind of.
I'm kind of watching it, be like, testing it from like, what are you going to be?
I thought you'd rate Eddie and Jericho higher. I think. I wasn't sure if you were going to be as down on Mysterio and Prince Iaukea as I was. And even though I really enjoyed, I had this with the Outsiders match last time, because I loved the Outsiders match and Taskmaster Benoit so much. I was interested to see if you thought the same on those ones as well. And you clearly did.
Yeah, no, I did unprompted. I straight off back, right? Yeah. Again, it's just the more I watch it, the more I become. I don't know. Yeah, I enjoy it a bit more. So I think the first couple of shows, it was a bit like I was a bit iffy. I didn't really know how to rate stuff, but now I'm kind of getting a feel for it. It's like, okay, I kind of know what to expect, or I think I know what to expect. And when certain things don't deliver, like the Eddie Chris match, I'm a bit like, okay. we'll give it a 6.5. But my scores do change sometimes just from talking to you.
Yeah.
And the emotion just that comes from talking about it. So it's like I said, the Eddie Chris match and the Malenko match were both on the same score. But after talking to you about it, I kind of got a bit more hyped for the Malenko match in 6. I was like, okay, we'll knock it up a notch.
Yeah, I thought it was a good start to the show. And I think actually, and yeah, I'm a real geek for match placement. So I think they did it quite well on here. Like a good opener, and then all like the good stuff was at the end, and then in the middle was just the sort of average ones, but kept it going.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I say, yeah,
there's no women's matches at all, are there, at the moment?
No.
Because there were in WCW, but yeah, 97 just decided to just stop that altogether.
Yeah, because Medusa turns up in 96, doesn't she, and drops the belt. But yeah, I think by this point they've kind of just vetoed whether it's lack of talent or lack of people on the roster. But they're kind of just they're giving up on it very much. And there's none in WWF either. So
yeah, it's all just valets, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. Sunny, Sable, Marlena.
Curious as to like who takes that first step and starts. I think WWF started doing women's matches before WCW. I don't think there's any women's matches really between now and when WCW ends.
Well, WWF just goes into the Attitude Era and just has like ridiculous women's matches that probably, possibly doesn't make them that groundbreaking in terms of.
No, but it does eventually lead to your Trishas and your Litas and
but
stuff.
But that does evolve into it sort of become, because then the next generation is like you get the attractive women where they're like, look, we can do good I guess like Trish and Lita were the ones that really changed it, didn't they? And then Jacqueline was there as well. We talked about her earlier.
And Ivory. They had some very solid women workers before Trish.
Yes, she was around there. But Ivory was almost, they made it a part of her, obviously did Wright censor, like part of her character. Like she was the anti one of all that stuff that was going on. But then I feel the moment it just got away from it all being like tits and ass was ironically, Trish Stratus, who started off as TNA.
And it's all about the TNA. But anyway, that's for 98. Not quite God level wrestling review session.
Dude,
do you want to plug the? Obviously, you've got True Grit coming up in York in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, big True Grit show, and 2 weeks on Saturday. Looking forward to that one. I know you're looking forward to Chris Ridgway, Liam Slater. You had Liam on the show recently, didn't you? So
I did. Yes.
Yeah, I think that'll be fantastic match between the two. Really looking forward to the match with Jericho and Sheik for the belt. I think that will be, I know those guys have wrestled elsewhere and know each other very well. Two of the biggest sort of up and coming stars, in the country today.
Actually come next week, so I'll make sure to pick his brain.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you should ask him about it. But I think I think they've wanted a big match and a spotlight for a while, so it should be good, that one.
There's obviously you've got Sean O'Neill's challenge.
Sorry?
You got the is it a 4-team tag match as well?
Yeah, so we got the Invasion match with the 4 teams, with Crash Boat, Misery Business, Money Mountain, and Queens of the Space Age. So I think that should be absolute chaos, but that'll be really good one. We've got Ivy's first title defense against someone she knows very well, ZZ. If you get a moment, check out their promo I released on Twitter earlier tonight. It's really, really good, actually. A bit different because I've been doing promos for everyone this time, or asked everyone to do promos for it, and they did one that was slightly different. It wasn't just like sort of talking at the camera. It was like a little segment, like you'd get, I guess, sort of backstage at Raw or something. And it's actually, I really liked it. I'd like to do more stuff like that with True Grit. So that was good. I've just got debut in HG Drake against Nash, which that should be good. I'm looking forward to using Drake more generally. Actually, he's a good one because as a promoter, you can put him anywhere and he always fits. He's such a versatile, behind the curtain a little bit. He's such a versatile wrestler, and he can yeah, he can go against someone like Nash. He could go against Purebred, yeah, title spot or a tag or whatever. Like he would fit in any role on the show. He would be, yeah. You can
Fully
even
agree. Big fan of Drake's. Followed him for a few years, and I loved. He did a little promo thing on Twitter I saw where he was just randomly beating up guys whilst talking about Nash.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
one of the first ones, yeah, to do the promo. So I thought, yeah, I can't believe I've not had him on before because when I wrestled as Boris, I wrestled Drake loads, and he was one of my favorite opponents at the time. So I'm a huge fan of his. I guess that, yeah, just never, yeah, really had a role for him before, but I've got him on a few shows this year, so looking forward to that. Sean Only's got open challenge again, so that'll be interesting to see who steps up to that. Oh, and we got Rio and Lucy Sky as well, which that's a bit of a
cool.
dark horse for one of the matches of the night. I think those two. I don't know if you've seen much of Lucy Sky. I've only had her on one of my shows before, but she was against Tonga, and it was really good. Like she I wanted to bring her back, and I think going against Rio, I think their styles will be fantastic.
Yeah.
Have I? I think I've done it. I think I've done everyone there.
There's nothing that's jumping out. I think that's pretty much It's very just solid card. You got like every match is potentially a banger. And like you've got
I like to have a bit of a variety on my shows
Yeah.
as well. I think there's a real variety there, but should be. There's no match that's really the same.
No, everyone will be different but good. Like it's the perfect combination of just everything being different but really good at what it is, so it'll be enjoyable, which is again what wrestling should be. We've seen it on WCW, we've seen it on WWF when we're talking about them. You got the cruiserweights, you got your big guys, you've got the women's matches, you've got the hardcore matches, you've got your technical matches.
Yeah,
and I think that's GW in '97 from what we're seeing we're so good as well.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Right, obviously
that show, aren't you?
Yes, tickets got. I'm just waiting to. We'll have an afternoon at the Viking Centre, and then I'm going to trudge along and see what's what.
Oh, great! Yeah, yeah, it should be good. Looking forward to it. And what do we have next? Talking about it's WWF. Oh, it's WrestleMania.
WrestleMania, baby.
Yeah. WrestleMania 13.
Yeah, and then it's uncensored. So yeah, March's pay-per-views were WrestleMania and uncensored. So
Taker versus Sid. I've seen WrestleMania a few times, so it'll be interesting watching it again. I've seen it, at least 2 or 3 times before, I think.
I think I've watched it once, so I'm going into it blind. It's WrestleMania 12 and 13 are probably my 2 least watched. No, sorry, 11, 12 and 13 are my least watched Manias. I think I watched them once, that's it.
So I watched a lot of them recent. My ex-girlfriend was involved in wrestling, but she hadn't seen a lot of the early WrestleManias. So it was during COVID, I think, actually, where we started watching a lot of the old WrestleManias. It was interesting to see her reaction to to it, because she was obviously a wrestling fan because she was involved in wrestling, but she had never really watched like early days WWF, which I found crazy because to me that was like what I grew up on. So it was interesting to see someone's reaction to WrestleManias first time watching.
That's it, because obviously when it's good, it stands the test of time. It doesn't matter whether the match was 30 years ago or 3 years ago. Good matches are good matches regardless, kind of thing. Some age really well, whereas other things just do not age. Before we wrap this up, I just want to do a massive shout out to the commentary team as well on Superbrawl. We had Dusty Rhodes, The Brain, and Tony Schiavone.
Great team. They're on a few of them. Those three so much better than Sold Out. Yeah. God, but I just love those 3 together because I love the way that Dusty's ridiculous and they sort of bicker, like The Brain and Dusty, and Tony Schiavone's like stuck in the middle. He's like the straight-laced one. It just, the whole thing. It's really sad that Tony Schiavone kind of fell out with Bobby the Brain Heenan in later life, and that he talks about that on Tony Schiavone's podcast. Because they're so good together. It's a shame that for whatever reason they fell out.
Yeah, well, I suppose stuff happens. We don't know the stories and stuff. But I just like one thing. Somebody said one thing, and Tony was like, "Yes, Brain," and he was like, "No, it was Dusty. I'm on your left." He's like, he's getting himself confused as well, kind of thing. I just think this commentary team was. So I could quite happily listen to this commentary team on every pay-per-view for the rest of the year, kind of thing. I just like it better than WWF's at the minute.
Yeah, I think I probably do, and I do actually like WWF. It's they've got a 3-man team as well, Vince, JR, and Jerry Lawler, haven't they? It probably gets stronger when Vince leaves that team, actually, because Jerry Lawler and JR can just sort of kind of do their own thing then. Whereas at the moment, Vince is kind of leading it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, we'll wrap it up. I've just seen the time. We have managed to go 1 hour and 30 again.
We didn't, meant to keep
we
these
will aim. We will aim for the 60-minute mark.
And we've got WrestleMania next time, so we don't have a chance. We'll have to go for it a lot.
I don't know. I think at this point there'll probably only be 2 or 3 matches really worth talking about. We just kind of need to be crueler on the shitter matches and just be like, meh, it's 3 stars. That's it. So thank you for watching. Obviously, give us a follow on social medias, Twitter, Facebook, all the rest. I will obviously tag in True Grit, where you can keep your eyes on the prize and see what they're up to. Obviously in York next month, and then after that we're back to Left Bank in Leeds.
26th of August.
Looking forward to that. Man. So we've got a show in July, we've got a show in August.
Then October, November, and then after that I'm hoping we kick it up a gear and start having monthly shows. That's the intention. I definitely want that for 2024. I may just from November onwards do it. If I get a December one in, just do monthly shows from them. That's the idea. It's felt so long actually since I kind of wanted this time in between March and July to get all like the company sorted out and website and all that sort of crap. But it's felt way too long. I'm like, I wish I'd done a show in between, but there we go.
In hindsight, don't you? But like I say, you focused on the website, you focused on X, Y, and Z. Hopefully, time.
I was actually originally, I guess, behind the scenes. It never got announced. I was meant to do a show on the 10th of June, but then it clashed with 1PW, and also it clashed with my 40th birthday. I would have still done it, but it also clashed with a big event in Jericho, which you'll find out in months to come. So it was good that one didn't happen, but that was when it was meant to. That's also why I was so dead set on keeping this August one, because obviously there's a clash with AEW, which has rattled me a little bit, because AEW is the day after my one in Leeds. But from most fans I've spoken to, I'm not sure if I asked you, but most fans seem to be either not going to AEW or they're just going the next day. So would you agree with that?
I would. I don't think, because the ticket price for shows, we're not paying like hundreds of pounds to go watch True Grit. So it's not like, it's one or the other. It was one or the other for me, because there's other promotions that I wanted to go and see as well. So it's literally a case of go watch one show at Wembley, regardless of how big it was, or go see 4 or 5 shows, around the local area. So
you're not going to AEW at all.
I picked local areas, so it's one or the other for me. I had to make the choice. Punk's come back now, so I'm still happy with my choice, but it did make me sort of second guess it a little bit. But we're good. I'm not going to miss hearing cult of personalities blasting out of Wembley at all. But on that note, I will say thank you for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. Apologies if it's a basic video, because it's run so long I might not be able to edit it. But thank you for watching, and we will see you again very, very soon. Adios.